this penultimate live from this first historic nano race involving the tiniest cars in the world. Again, a reminder, take one little bit of my hair, a grey one or a dark one, and it's about 30,000 times smaller than that. With the German team, who'll be talking about how much progress they've made over the last 30 hours. If you're counting on a lift, or if you're hitchhiking, or relying on them to go somewhere with their car, you're not going to go very far, but they'll explain why very shortly. I wanted to give you a bit of information on the rankings right now. As we know, the Swiss-Austrian team on their, who went out on their silver track, they got there very, very quickly. I guess you could say theirs is a TGV of a car. The Swiss did very well with the gold. They came out as the gold medalist on the gold plate, well ahead of everyone else. As you can see, they went in a really record time there, which meant that, unfortunately, the Japanese and the French, well, they haven't progressed at all. If it was the Eurovision contest, it would be nul point for the two, because the Japanese one basically just had a major malfunction, and the French one had many of its own issues, but is still trying to do some progress and finding other ways of using that microscope to move forward. The Germans, who you always associate with the best cars in the world, well, not so good this time. They're here and they'll tell me why, but first of all, I want to show you a report from the German team. You can see the windmill team here. Here's their molecule there. You can see it on the screen, and not progressing that far. But first, here's this profile of the windmill team that we put together earlier this week.
I'm a surface scientist, and I'm working with a scanning tunneling microscope during my PhD, and we're trying to investigate molecules on surfaces. So we're doing here, we would like to understand mechanics with molecules, or trying to investigate some kind of molecular electronics. Our car looks like a windmill, and it consists of 4 single molecules holded together via hydrogen bonds, and yeah, we think this is the best to move it on a surface. We know we can move it easily and via voltage pulses, and this will be a good design for the nanocar race. So we choose this molecule as we know it will build this windmill structure, and we can navigate quite easily this molecular assembly on the surface, because when we pulse on one of the meals, it will go in the direction, in just one direction, and we have the chance to move in 4 different directions with this structure, and therefore we choose this design. I think we have a chance to win this race, but let's see what will happen. I mean, 36 hours are long, and we don't know.
So I'm very happy to have the German team with me, Windmill they're called, and even though things haven't gone that well for them over the last couple of days, they've probably learnt a lot. I'd like to show you on the screen a shot of their family. Here you go, here, there's the 3 of them, and they're with me now. So all 3 of you, please tell me your names and what you do. Go ahead, stop.
Yeah, I'm Francesca Moresco, and I'm a research group leader in the University of Dresden, and yeah, this...
So my name is Justus, and I'm the co-pilot. And I'm Frank, and I'm the pilot. And yeah.
And what do you do? You're all engineers at the University of Dresden?
Yeah, we are all physics. So we study all physics, I think, we all 3, yeah. And we are in a material science group in TU Dresden. And we work on low temperature STM, on single molecules, so in very similar environment as what we have seen in these 30 hours.
So
but with one tip, yeah.
You haven't progressed that far, have you?
Yes, this was to expect already a few days ago when the surface was prepared. So as you know,
we can see yours here.
This is the windmill, also here as a model. As you probably already heard, many times one of the very big challenges in this experiment here in Toulouse is to have 4 different molecules, all 4 on the same surface and prepared in the proper way. Our molecule is formed, so it's not a molecule, it's a small nanostructure formed by 4 molecules, so each one like this one, and it should be formed on the surface. And clearly this was made difficult by the many other, so by the complex procedure here, and that at the end we had too few of our molecules. They couldn't find each other in a proper way. So we don't have any of these on the surface, but we have few, but very few, windmills with 3 lobes. Like the one is here on the table, but it's also broken, so we cannot show it. I don't know if you can imagine this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have something like that, and you can say, okay, we have 3 and instead of 4. What is the problem? Maybe it's even faster. Unfortunately, not, because these 3. So the hydrogen bonding, which is keeping them together, is stabilized by the 4, and with 3 is less stable. Therefore, the distances between these lobes change continuously when we try to move it, and we have really large problems to proceed with this molecule here. Therefore, we had just these few nanometers with few of them, and then we destroy them, and we have to find a new one and start again. We started again and again, I don't know how many times. Maybe Frank will tell also. But yeah, the results are as they are.
Yeah, exactly. So we just moved 2 molecules on this surface. One we moved 8 nanometers and one 3 nanometers. So it's really tough. We need to find the right one, and we had almost 30, 40 that we try to move, manipulate. But yeah, by voltage process, then you start to either destroy them, or they are really completely stuck that we can not at all move them. So we had really problems these days, but nevertheless, we think still we have 1.5 hours, and maybe we can make some more nanometers. Let's see.
You're with the University of Dresden.
Yes.
Is nanotechnology science very advanced there? Are you working on this kind of stuff a lot?
So yeah, we worked on this a lot. So we have an excellence cluster, the CFAD, for example, which is working on nanoscience or on molecules which can be used, for example, in OLEDs or in organic LEDs. And yeah, I think it's an excellent university in Germany, and we are working a lot on nanoscience.
Now, this was all like a fun experiment, we could say, the nano car race.
Mm-hmm.
Have you actually, will you go back to Germany having learned something from this CNRS experiment?
So this for sure. So we learned, for example, okay, there are many parameters to get, for example, this tetrameric structure. We learned a little bit about, okay, how can we maybe drive also the windmill just with 3 molecules, and that it's more difficult than our normal windmill, which is easily movable. So yeah, we have learned something.
So maybe let me add. So first of all, we are proud that we're actually part of this, whole unique event. Obviously, we knew from the beginning it would be very, very tough, but we decided to take the challenge anyway with our 3 windmill. It was definitely very tough, but we worked all night through and eventually, made some progress inch by inch on this case, nanometer per nanometer. And yeah, eventually we showed that it's really tricky to work with just 3 plates. And this is something we can take back to Dresden and continue to work on smarter or better molecule cars, right? So for the next event, we're better prepared then.
Okay, and are you working with the car industry in Germany on a regular basis on nanotechnology or not? Or you hope to, or?
No, not really.
So I think you need to be honest. I mean, there's still too much of a gap between, car industry and our cars. I mean, it's clearly stimulating for all people if you can drive actually a car at the nanoscale. So this is really also, pushing people into nanotechnology, but I think the direct relation to the car industry is not yet there, unfortunately.
So what's your next step? in your research in the nanotechnology field?
Well, you know, during this race, we could spy a little around what the others are doing better, so we tried to learn from the winners, you know, take the recipe back home and then work with our chemists in Dresden and try to develop even better cars and, you know, come back for the next race.
That's very honest.
Well, I mean, it's really like this, so yeah.
Well, it's not spying, I guess, if you admit you're going to do it. So if you openly admit you're spying, then so thank you very much, the three of you, and it's great to have you here. So go back to trying to get a few more nanometers out of that three-blade windmill. Good luck with that. Okay. So good to see you, and thanks for taking part and sharing that with us. Okay. Thank you. And just to remind you, the French and the Japanese have more or less had to end their participation in the competition because of various different problems they've had, especially the Japanese, which we felt really sorry for because their problem started almost as soon as the race began yesterday at 11 o'clock. Nevertheless, there was so much work they put into what they did, and we want to show you kind of kind of going back a bit, some of the work that we did with the Japanese and how we covered them in the weeks before the race began. So here's a little report, a portrait of the Japanese team.
Our molecule has two paddles which can fluctuate. Like this is hard, but anyway, it can go like this. And so we are working on control of molecular structure on water surface. This time it is not water, but gold solid surface. And we are interested in how the structure would be and how it moves, because this is a very soft fluctuating molecule. So this is the first time that we try to see such a molecule.
So that was the Japanese team, and commiserations to them because they put a lot of effort into their work, and unfortunately just had too many troubles at the beginning yesterday, and they really had to, their car basically became a wreck by the end of last night. Anyway, this is the end of this shorter update. We're going to have a lot more from you in the final edition at 5 o'clock French time as the race comes to an end. The 36-hour nano race comes to an end at 5 o'clock French time. Of course, we'll be talking to everyone. It'll be the wrap-up. We'll look at what social media is saying. So if you have any questions for our big hub there, the community team, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, wherever, we've got it all covered. Get in touch with them now as we come down to the final end of this most remarkable of races. So stay tuned. We'll take you back to the racing control room now. We can have live pictures, and we'll be back for our last final live update on this historic nano car race. So stay tuned, come back to us at 5, and we'll have a lot more for you as the race comes to an end. See you later.